Hey guys, it's SickMotion here again with another patch note review. I'm going to try and be a lot quicker on this one. Last one kind of dragged on. It was a huge patch though, so to be fair, kind of needed it. Um, One really big thing about this you can kind of see. Warwick's broken right now, or was broken. And let's see how many times they mention Warwick in the opening statement. Warwick, Warwick, Warwick. So there's a bunch of tuning towards him both directly and indirectly. Rek'Sai, new champion, will be out later on during this patch. That'll be really fun to see how he does in actual competitive games. It's hard to tell from the PBE. I had fun playing him and he was doing really well in the PBE, but like I said, it's not the best test for viability of a champion. Just more about bug fixes and whatnot. Bunch more bugs on Azir getting fixed. He just seems to have bug fixes every single patch, so that I don't think he was ready to be released, to be fair. And you get assists now from the movement speed granted by the R, which seems like it should have been like that from the beginning and isn't really a bug that should have been found out this late. But like I said, has a lot of bugs with that champion. Cassiopeia has some changes. Her passive is still there. However, it requires more stacks to reach the breakpoints. However, they'll be hit sooner than the old ones based on what they changed, so that you gain once every 6 seconds, 10 times per minute, you gain a stack. And for every second that an enemy champion is poisoned. So you no longer have to kill poisoned units. So there's less emphasis on that and more emphasis on just hitting your opponent with the poison, and you gain stacks passively in addition to that. So that's kind of cool. Uh, Q wasn't normalized, which is really good that it is now. Kind of similar how Cho'Gath's Rupture used to not be normalized. It was kind of just a grab bag. Is it going to go off sooner, or is it going to go off later? And is that going to be a benefit, or is it going to hurt you in the end? The movement speed buff got what they changed on the Q and the E makes it look like regardless of what one you level, they'll still be good. Instead of getting movement speed per level, you just have a flat. Instead of getting ratio per level on your E, you just have a flat. So you can kind of choose what you want to level. You're not kind of stuck just leveling the E because you want that higher ability power ratio type thing. The mana cost on her E went up slightly at level 1, same Z's at level 2, and then goes down across the board. And the cool thing about the E now, it adds a debuff to the target that amplifies further poison damage. So from her W and her Q by 20% for 5 seconds, it stacks twice. So that can go up to 40% increased poison damage, which is really cool. I'm wondering if that works with Teemo and Singed in the same way that her E was proccable faster against poison targets, even if it wasn't her own poison. I'm assuming it would based on that, but it'll be interesting to see. I think that's a really nice change for Cassio, though. Cho'Gath, I think this is a nerf. It's a quality of life buff, though. Feast has 50% of its cooldown cost refunded if it kills a minion or a monster. You can stack up faster, but once you're fully stacked, it's a nerf because you have 20 seconds longer on the cooldown of your feast at all levels, which it is a pretty huge nuke in a fight. Corki got toned down a little bit, the missile speed on his Q, so it's slightly easier to dodge. This is a nice quality of life for Diana. If you dash to a target that has your Q light on it, but you get interrupted, you don't quite make it there, your ult won't go on cooldown. Really nice quality of life change. If you get interrupted by death on the way there, obviously it doesn't matter because you're dead and you don't need that cooldown. But I think that's really nice. That's a step in the right direction to see more Diana play. Might have to try her out again. Fiddle's Dread passive no longer applies dread to all enemies within 800 range. Kind of gave away that Fiddle was there, but it also was kind of broken that even if you didn't hit him, he was basically giving a free Abyssal to the team. Minor Abyssal. The bounce now prioritizes targets not hit by Dark Wind, which is wonderful. You're not going to get the RNG as Fiddle, and your bounce doesn't hit anybody. That all it only hits his minions, or the opposite where you're against Fiddle and you get hit by 3 of the 5 bounces and you're ready to rip your hair out. And it can hit multiple targets at the same time, but it only silences once. So you're once again less RNG on that perfect chain silence that you used to be able to do. This is a big change, I think. This might get a lot of more Galio play in. If you were ulted by Galio and he didn't cancel his ult early and you had tenacity, you could walk out because the CC on his ult uh, ended before the channel ended, so you walked out before it actually did damage. You were CC'd momentarily, but as long as you got out before it did damage, you're kind of okay. Now it's kind of similar to a suppression where tenacity doesn't help you, which is really cool, really nice. I think that's got a huge quality of life for Galio, and I think Galio is actually pretty strong, so that's a step in the right direction. Maybe some mana cost reductions would get him into play very frequently, I think. Sometimes when you would ult on Jarvan, you would lay down the wall, but if you died after the wall was laid down, but you died before the damage would apply, that damage wouldn't apply. So quality of life for him. Really excited for this change. Jack's counter strike at all levels reduced by 2 seconds, which will be nice. That's a flat 2-second reduction. So having cooldown reduction or whatnot will lower that further, but at 2 seconds, I can't tell you how many times I was just like a fraction of a second off from proccing my counter strike and making a huge play, but I died while it was on cooldown still, so that's going to be big. Bonus armor, slightly lower at level 1, slightly higher at level 3, even in the middle at level 2, but it has a 0.2 higher attack damage ratio. Say you're building Ghostblade Trinity Forest, and we'll just say you're right around probably 50, 60 AD. It's a little bit of a, like 50 AD, having that will give you 10 more armor level, at all levels actually. But whenever you get that 50 AD is usually later on into the game. The bonus magic resistance got toned down, or actually didn't get toned down. It's, or sorry, it did get toned down. What am I saying here? Toned down a little, 5 less at level 1, 5 more at level 3, and the ability power ratio remains the same, just to stay consistent, I think, with the numbers on the armor part of that. But the big news is really that Counter-Strike cooldown reduction. That's going to be massive as far as Jack's players. Cool interaction on Jace's Q, or Jace's W, that when you activated it, it would start going on cooldown, and as long as you use those 3 shots before the end, you'd still get to get them off, but then the cooldown would be coming up right away, so you could essentially shoot almost back-to-back 6 shots at max attack speed for 130% increased damage. That's broken. They fixed that to tone it. His cooldown, they lowered the cooldown a little bit, which will help. In most scenarios, this is, I think, will be better for him. But that scenario where you got like the perfect hypercharge into a hypercharge won't happen anymore. So you can't break the game, but little bit of a cooldown reduction, which will be nice for Jace players. The switcheroo now shows the gun Jinx is currently using rather than the one it'll switch to. I think that'll be hard for people who frequently play Jinx to figure out exactly because they're so used to the way it was, but for newer Jinx players and going onwards, I think it'll be nice. And this will kind of help it out that it'll now swirl, like when you have Ashe's Q toggled on, that you're spending mana, so you'll know that you have your rocket on. So it shouldn't be that confusing or different. Changes on Kennen. Basically, all of this is just tooltip and consistency. Slicing Maelstrom is still and remains 3, 4, 5 seconds depending on the level of the skill. More Lucian nerfs. I think this Lucian nerf is really what they should have done to start rather than right at the end after nerfing everything else. The other nerfs were okay. Taking down the AD ratio on his passive at early levels really hurts his early game potential, which is where he was the strongest, and the passive duration, so that you have to actually use it and you're a little bit more counterplay against them. I don't see why it took them so long to do that. If they did that earlier, I think it would have fixed a lot of stuff. That's just me though. Unspeakable Horror. Nocturne now gains massively increased movement speed when moving towards feared targets. That's kind of cool that you can set up like a Hecarim or Fiddle Fear to make Nocturne have bonus movement speed. But since feared targets now run away from their source of fear, you'd fear someone with your E, and unless you were already behind them, you're just fearing them probably where they wanted to run anyway, so it's kind of counterintuitive, but now you gain a movement speed buff once they're feared, which is really cool, I think. Base attack speed on Pantheon is lower, so he can't proc his passive as fast just based on his own autos with no extra stats, runes, and stuff, etc. but the attack frame animation speed, so how fast the attack actually like animates itself and can be canceled, is faster. So quality of life there, nerf there. Overall, I don't think it's going to be overly terrible. I think it's just going to be Pantheon got nerfed. I don't want to play him anymore. That's mainly what that is about. Apparently, Bone Tooth Nexus ward was reduced by cooldown reduction. I never noticed that, but that's funny that that was happening. Shizwani got a bunch of rearranging of her stats. Before, I don't like Shizwani that much, but her Q used to do percentage of target's max health. Now that's taken off of the Q. It just does more magic damage, and percentage max health is on that first hit of your flail and scales with ability power. And then the area of effect damage, instead of 10% bonus health at all levels, it's total health. So that's going to be doing more damage at the end of the game. I don't know. I haven't taken the time to look at all the numbers. It also had a mana cost reduction. Overall, I think this rebalancing of stuff is going to make Shizwani a more consistent and persistent threat in a fight, more than just an upfront CC bot that you run in, you charge someone, you ult them, you burst them really quickly, and you keep someone CC'd. Also, her permafrost got the cooldown almost cut in half. So once again, more consistent slowing. The slow is a lot shorter of a duration compared to what it was at max level. But you can proc it way faster, does less damage per cast, but overall I think it's more damage because you can proc it way faster, like I said. All around, I think this rebalancing as far as playing like tank, initiate, or frontline Shizwani is going to be a buff, but I can't say 100% for sure because I haven't put the time into even like the theory crafting that. Shen, 20 increased energy, or 20 decreased, 20 increased energy. Let's nerf the guy who never gets played. So his Shadow Dash, it felt pretty excessive, like it cost way too much. 20 energy less, so maybe he'll be able to get picked once a month, if that, again. Shyvana buffs, kind of cool. I enjoy playing Shyvana. The meta kind of pushed her out of top lane, but this buff is really nice. Cooldown on Twin Bite went down 1 second across the board, which is wonderful. Burnout now deals 20% bonus damage to monsters, so she's going to be even better at jungling now, which is kind of cool. It says monsters there, not minions, so I'm assuming it's only monsters. I'm assuming that lane Shizwani is not going to get a huge change out of that, but jungle... Did I just say Shizwani? Lane Shyvana won't get a huge bonus out of that, but jungle will definitely have a faster clear speed, which I think will be cool. Soraka base health regen nerfs, but she has a bit of more of an ability power ratio on her W, self-healing when you hit a Q. Bit of a confusing chain of how that all works, but she heals herself for more if she hits star calls based on her AP now. Varus has some more mana regen in lane because I played him recently actually in my A to Z. His mana costs are ridiculous, so that'll be helpful. Here's the Warwick nerf. 10 seconds down to 6 seconds on his W. That's the thing that gives him a buffing attack speed. Yeah, that's a bit of a nerf. That's fine. His ultimate has gone down in damage. That is not the direct problem of Warwick. It's his interaction with the new smite and the new jungle item that's the issue. They toned down the smite issue later on here. So that's a step in the right direction for that, but I think it's less the problem with Warwick, more the problem with Warwick's interaction with the new items, because Warwick before these changes was never seen. So I think they're addressing it in the wrong way, but that's just me once again. Yasuo getting toned up again. He still has all those base stat nerfs, but he's got his movement speed back up, and Steel Tempest Q reduced to 4 seconds at all ranks for cooldown, rather than gradually reducing to 4 seconds. So pretty big buff there, and the movement speed's always nice. Zac buffs, these are kind of fun. When you hit with your E, which is the longer cooldown, more of your initiate that you don't really want to use for a DPS cooldown, if you hit more than one target, like you're actually aiming it, you actually looked at your screen, you'll get more blobs for potentially more healing. Normally, if you hit like a bunch of people with your abilities, you only get one blob as long as it's hit one thing. But getting more blobs for each champion he hits. I should say that champion, not minions. You can't just hit an entire minion wave and get 6 blobs. And it also does more damage. So big Zac buffs. Knockback range is increased by 150, almost doubled. So more CC. The total crowd control duration remains the same, but like as far as getting turret dove and knocking people onto your tower with that bait, that'll be kind of cool for lane Zac at least. It's nice across the board, but I'm just thinking for like top lane Zac when I'm thinking about it. More character model changes, which is good. Turrets now give more gold when they die across the board because Dragon no longer gives gold. They wanted to balance that gold out somewhere else. The turret shielding now shields you every second and a half rather than every second in case you're having a dot tick on you that is ticking every second. Depending on how it lines up, that shield could completely negate the dot damage, which was really annoying. Like when you ignite someone and they walk to that turret and they're hovering around death, one tick away from dying, but the shield keeps saving them. So that's never what it was really intended for. So I'm glad they addressed that at least in some way. Minimum and maximum death timers are now longer. Champion base kill experience is now smaller because I guess there's more team deathmatch going on early. Melee minion and range minion both give 1 gold more each, so a total of 6 gold more per minion wave if you're actually hitting your farm. So farming becomes more important slightly. It's always been important, but slightly more important at this point, and that's just to balance out people who want to keep farming is still make it viable compared to all the new objectives on the map. They want it to be that there's going to be no 100% efficiency in every situation. This is what you want to do. Every situation is going to call for a different play, and they want to make everything look as attractive. So farming is slightly more attractive. Minion health is slightly lower all across the board. I guess minions were just kind of being too beefy and taking down turrets on their own as the game progressed, so they kind of addressed that there. General changes here. Let's just skip over that. This is a big change for me right here. As a top lane player, it was proximity to the shopkeeper versus proximity to anything else. So the shopkeeper is more aligned towards the top side. You could buy 4 or 5 steps off the spawn pad, get to lane a couple seconds earlier. Buying off the spawn pad in general is not there anymore. You have to be on the spawn pad regardless of where you are. It's no longer the proximity to the shopkeeper. It's going to take me forever to get used to that. It's a good normalization change, but as a top laner, I feel like Riot is slapping me in the face. It had to be done. It sucks. It's going to confuse me for months to come because I'm just so used to buying off the spawn pad. This kind of confused me too. The big golem on the top lane was closer to the base, or on the top, the top base, the big golem was closer to the base. On the bottom side, it was further away from the base. I never really noticed that, but they normalized it so that it's always further away from the base. But when you're starting the buff from out of sight or over the wall, or you're just aiming a skill shot to it, I'm probably still going to be hitting the small one by accident on that camp just because I'm so used to being where it has always been. So it's something to remember. They changed Dragon because you could Pantheon passive would block it, Jax could dodge it, Fiora could parry it because it was treated as an auto attack. Since it attacks so slow, if you're able to block a few of those, you're able to. Pantheon was able to solo Dragon a level 2 type thing. So it's now a spell. It still does physical damage, but it's a spell. So those mechanics will no longer block it. With that in mind, I'll be making a video in the next, hopefully tomorrow. There still are champions that can solo Dragon at level 2. So I'll show you guys those while they're still relevant. Kind of fun. Gives a soul to Thresh, that's awesome, and it no longer bugs out. Oh, and you can't dance with the dragon anymore where you would make it switch targets over and over, because with the slower attack speed it was easier to do that, but now you can't do that anymore. Baron buff was reduced by a minute, so it's 3 minutes rather than 4 minutes. Timing Baron buff, by right when their Baron buff runs out, if you didn't get a Baron timer, you could be like, okay, Baron spawns in 3 minutes from this time. Now you're just going to have to remember that you go, okay, their Baron buff ran out, it spawns in 4 minutes from this time. Just something to keep in mind, but Baron's really strong now, so being really strong for a long period of time usually just ends games. They don't want it. They want people to be able to defend against it if they play perfectly, not just have it be an instant game over. They rearranged the dragon stacks, 2% less from 8% to 6% attack damage and ability power on the first stack, so that's nice that you just don't start snowballing out of control. Second stack now gives damage to turrets as opposed to the damage to minions and monsters. Because doing the damage to the minions and monsters, you'd be able to just split push really easy, push lanes really easy, then roam, clear through the jungle really easy. You started snowballing out of control because you're getting money faster. So they fixed that. Gift of the Heavy Hand is now 6 hits to stun rather than 5. That's the buff you got from killing the Golem camp. That would make jungling safer and easier for you, but it favored high attack speed champions. Still somewhat does, but to a lesser extent. Gift of the Toadstool now deals less base damage, but 8 times per level. So overall, it'll be better for champions that don't do that much damage to the jungle monsters, tanky champions mainly, that are more reliant on stuff like that to help them clear faster. A buff for junglers right here. Hunter's Machete now grants 10 bonus gold per large monster. However, all camps give 10 gold less. So your laners get less from taking your jungle. Since you're behind in the jungle, a lot of the time you're not making as much money. Now your lane is going to be less inclined to take that from you because it's just overall benefit to the team to let the person who gets more money, who specializes in killing those things, kill them and get more money. All tier 2 and tier 3 jungle items now grant 20 gold, so upgrade that fast because you're going to get an additional 10 gold because those two balance each other out. Now there's 10 left here. So I'm assuming that's what it is. I'm assuming it's not plus 30. I think it's just plus 20 is what I'm getting out of it. I haven't checked in game yet. But long story short, you get more gold after you've upgraded. So you don't keep the machete forever. If you go back and upgrade, you'll make a little bit more gold. Null Magic or Negatron is back. Same kind of way they did Cloth Armor. Cloth Armor plus gold will build into Chain Vest. Null Mantle plus gold will build into Negatron, which is nice. There's some really long waiting out periods. For example, the Guardian Angel, the Abyssal Scepter, they fixed those things. It just felt like that it had to be there, but I really like the change where Null Magic builds into it. So it's not like you're making the choice to build a Negatron first and you can't build other things, or you build a Null Mantle first and you can't build other things. It's all normalized. I think that's still nice to keep that. Support item changes now execute from higher. Smite cooldown no longer reduced on the Trailblazer, so it's no longer just like the best for farming because you get 15% cooldown on, 15-second cooldown on everything. Poacher's Knife now shows how much gold you've gotten from the jungle camps that you've poached, basically. Not just the 20 gold, but it shows you how much gold in total, just to show you how much gold you've stolen from the enemy. Just to add that value there, which is kind of cool. Skirmisher Saber, this is the Warwick thing. Instead of dealing magic damage per hit, it deals true damage per hit. It deals true damage based on your level, but over 3 seconds. So you tag it once, and then it'll deal that over 3 seconds. So you're not at a huge advantage for just attacking faster, like Warwick was. And other attack speed, like Xin Zhao jungle champions. And it fixed the bug where you could kill people through. I had the misfortune of experiencing that. I was fighting a Master Yi, I was Tryndamere, I ulted, he smited me, I died. So that's fixed, that's good. I wish I could go back in time and replay that fight now though. Devourer now starts with 15 less stacks because it was just way too strong for those attack speed champions once again. More mana regen on all of the Chalice and all the Chalice buildouts because it was just kind of being outshone by Morel and Omicron for the most part. Base mana regen on the Forbidden Idol was weird that it was 60% rather than 50, so they normalized that. They made a lot of changes. I play threes a little bit. Haven't played in a while, but I do play threes a little bit. They added smite bonuses to the threes jungle camps, changed the spawn timers on the jungle camps to be longer like they are in Summoner's Rift. I'm not sure how that's going to play out in threes. Seems like counter jungling and getting behind in the jungle is going to be even more painful in threes now. So I don't know if that's a step in the right or the wrong direction. We'll have to see how that plays out. Seems like it's going to be really snowbally. But a bunch of other threes changes. They took out all the items that were removed in Summoner's Rift. Teleport, you can now teleport towards by clicking on the map. Nice quality of life change there, but I'm usually watching the fight anyway when I'm teleporting rather than just being like, I hope the fight's going well and teleport in without even looking. So I'm still probably not going to use that too much. The buffs now show in the center HUD, so they're easier to see, of flasks, your crystalline flask, potion, static shiv, and your support items. just so you can see it easier rather than having to look over here. I think that's more less so you can see it easier. They were smaller over there, but less so you can see it easier. More that's just what people are comfortable and used to. So that's gonna be kind of nice, and just a bunch of other things, fixes, frame rate things, just a bunch of not directly related to balancing in the game, and some bugs. The one bug I will point out here, Sona's Q no longer causes lag on the first cast. I played Sona top lane in the A to Z and I noticed that, and my roommates were playing it after I played it, and I noticed that every time you press that Q, like their game would freeze for a second, which was funny. And we thought we were making fun of my roommate's computer, but it was actually a bug. So, and a bunch new skins for the Christmas, the Blood Moons, and the new champion, of course. So I said I was going to keep it short. I didn't. I lied. I'm sorry. I apologize. Thank you for watching, guys. If you're enjoying it, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future on patch notes, tips, stream clips, and whatnot. With that said, I stream full time right now, so make sure to check out my stream. All the links to that and my social media will be in the description. I hope you guys found this informative and mainly just understood my opinions on stuff and kind of got a rundown from what I think on it. And other than that, guys, hopefully I'll see you over the course of one of my streams sometime, and take it easy till then.